Hello everyone, myself Vibhu Shukla. My roll number is 23115-107. I am a 5th semester student at NIT Raipur, branch CSE, and this is what we studied last week in my entrepreneurship classes. So first thing first, we studied about the types of mindset. So there are basically in broad categories there are two types of mindsets. First is growth mindset and second is fixed mindset. In growth mindset we could count this is a more lenient type of mindset. The fixed mindset, the best example of these would be the NIT IIT bias. While the interview is scheduled, like people who come from a particular background are given more unfair advantage over those who are coming from tier 3 colleges. Basically people from IIT and NITs are given more priority over the people from tier 3 colleges. And then second is growth mindset, where this doesn't exist. The interviewer just wants to admit the people who have the desired skills, who have the required skills. That's the growth mindset, and that was the fixed mindset. Next thing we discussed was design thinking. So this is the algorithm to more or less solve any problem in entrepreneurship world. So it comprises of mainly 5 popular parts. First part is to empathize. Empathize means we see a problem, we want to solve it. We need to first understand what we are solving, what we want to include. For that we have to live with it. For example, Discord is an application which was invented by a gamer who was tired of having the connections broken during the gameplay. He couldn't talk with his peers while playing a game. So he invented Discord to solve that problem because he empathized with that thing. So empathy is really important. Empathy basically means living and understanding the problem. And then there is the second step of design thinking, that is definition. We need to formally define what we need to solve, what we are solving. Like state it, define the path, actually what actually we are solving, so that the path really becomes clear, and we formally define a problem and clarify what we actually need to solve, so that we don't waste any more time. Then the third step is to ideate. To ideate means how we can solve it. This is the part where we brainstorm. Like we have defined the problem, we have understood the problem, we have defined the problem, and now we need to ideate it. We need to brainstorm with our peers, like how we can solve it, what we can use to solve it. Okay, so then comes the next step, that is prototyping. Prototyping means we need to present a bare minimum working model to test the theories, like what we ideated, if this can work or not, okay, for the given problem. And the fifth is the testing. In testing, we test our prototype in various test cases, so that when we build the actual MVP, minimum viable product, we don't it's actually valuable. It doesn't fail on some test cases, because that would be really expensive and wasted of time. So we stress test our prototype in all the ruthlessly brutal ways possible, so that we try to make it fail and see at what cases it fails, and then rectify it. And we basically loop between prototype and testing phase unless we are satisfied with the results, and then we move to something called MVP, which is minimum viable product. Minimum viable product means it is basically one step ahead of prototyping, which is almost perfect, which is using which we can capitalize. Prototype we can't capitalize, but for MVP we can capitalize the MVP, right? We could sell it in the market, and it could be our starting it could be the starting point of our company. Then there is something called lean canvas. All the things we discussed in the idea thinking, we could represent it in a really visually appealing and really structured way in using lean canvas. It comprises of sections like problem, solution, unfair advantage, MVP, etc. So this really helps in summarizing everything in the design thinking and presenting it in front of us, so that when we work, we keep in mind what we are working on and what are the different things we could include in our working. And then we define, and then in the next section we moved to types of problems which we solve. So there seem to be two types of problem in the world. The first is tame problem, and second is wicked problem. Tame problem means this is generally the most this type of problem is problem which we are solving from the childhood till now, because everything used to have a solution, right? So tame problems are formally defined as these are the problems which have a particular solution. Once we know the trick, the next thing we find is a solution, right? So there are no more tricks here. So we have a problem, we solve it. So we use two type of thinking. First is inductive thinking and second is deductive thinking. Using these two type of thinking, we could solve a tame problem. The second type of problem is wicked problem. Wicked problem is, as the name suggests, it's wicked. Once we solve a particular stage of it, I am calling it stage because once we solve a problem, then more problems appear. Then the tree continue until we could only hope we could solve it at some stage, and we keep solving it as more problems appear. This is the most interesting thing, and this is what we will be dealing in our this is what entrepreneurs deal with, the wicked problems, and it requires an out-of-box thinking, and that type of thinking is a combination of inductive and deductive thinking, and that type of thinking is called basically abductive thinking. That was all. Thank you and have a nice day.